There is an optimistic notion that a financial crisis impacting China will lead to Xi Jinping's downfall and the democratization of China. However, this is merely the beginning of a new era. The most important thing is to avoid becoming victims of the CCP's schemes. Therefore, don't engage, don't invest, and be aware of their intentions, actions, and future plans. This is what everyone should be concerned about these days. Hi everyone, this is Stan, your favorite Polish Taiwan YouTuber. Hope you're all having a great day. Welcome to today's show. Today let's discuss turmoil of Zhongzhi company, which worries analysts, but Xi Jinping is happy as a clam. The hardships of the Chinese people seem to never end. Earlier this month, they faced devastating floods, resulting in significant losses. Recently, a massive debt crisis occurred with China's real estate company, Country Garden. And simultaneously, the largest asset management company of China, Zhongzhi Group, experienced a financial turmoil due to the suspension of debt payments. In an effort to prevent a chain reaction, the authorities have implemented policies to stabilize affected parties, while also forbidding state media from discussing the financial crisis. Many Chinese investors are likely suffering both from the floods and financial turmoil right now. Time and time again, it's the Chinese people who suffer the most under the rule of the Chinese Communist Party. Now, even the youth unemployment rate is being concealed, keeping you in the dark. Moreover, schools are collaborating with the government to falsify records, withholding unemployment certificates and diplomas. However, I must acknowledge that China isn't the first country to engage in such practices. Similar situations existed in the Soviet Union, for example, manipulating the statistics before its collapse. Even the manipulation of unemployment statistics is a borrowed tactic. Now the situation has escalated to the point where they're not even releasing the latest data on youth unemployment rates. They're simply not disclosing it. After all, there is nothing you can do about it. Returning to the topic of today's video, let's look at the financial foundation of the People's Republic of China. For many years, a huge number of professionals have courageously come forward to assert that China's financial system is essentially a large-scale financial fraud. The so-called real estate and financial markets are the result of an inconceivably complex collusion between the government and businesses, excessive lending practices generating financial leverage that involves unethical means for group expansion. Eventually, this leads to the creation of a massive financial bubble. Additionally, the damage-inflicting delusions arising from the concentration of power under Xi Jinping, an unprecedented catastrophe that could occur only once in 5,000 years, have prompted the introduction of peculiar laws to take control over the financial system into his own hands. These include the Foreign Relations Law and the revised Anti-Spy Law, which, after coming into effect on July 1st of this year, have led foreign individuals to cautiously consider traveling to China so as to avoid arbitrary enforcement of laws, exit bans, wrongful detentions by the police, or even forced conversion into political hostages. Furthermore, on August 1st, China's National Security Department issued a social mobilization order on WeChat, urging citizens to report spies and promising rewards for useful information. The financial bubble, that basically is the whole Chinese financial system, surpassing any in history and scale, is the result of improper perceptions by ordinary Chinese citizens when buying real estate and financial products, inadequate regulations due to collision between corporations and the government, and other systemic issues. However, the bursting of this financial bubble will primarily impact those outside of the authoritarian regime. The international and Chinese domestic experts risk suppression, persecution, and public ridicule by speaking out against these colossal financial conglomerates and real estate companies in the PRC over the years. These financial and real estate companies are basically white gloves and money bags for their bosses in the CCP. The political struggle underpinning the CCP's control has been ongoing since Xi Jinping's first term as a chairman of China. His initial anti-corruption campaign, seen clearly now by everyone, was merely the beginning of a political power struggle. The current situation surrounding the Zhongzhi Group is also somewhat shadowed by political power struggles, similar to what happened with China HNA Group in the past few years. After bankruptcy, forced restructuring follows, and the new investors become the new shareholders of the reorganized group. Around 2019 or so, the internal problems with the Zhongzhi Group gradually came to the surface, and the big boss in charge of the group, Xi Jinping, attempted to guide the group through the crisis. However, the Beijing government's intention was to crack down on the so-called unruly financial giants, with the ultimate goal of strengthening financial supervision, meaning more direct control from the CCP. Both Xi Jinping's Zhongzhi Group and Xiao Jianhua's Tomorrow Group became subjects of criticism. Their closely knit partner circles also faced faced problems, including numerous enterprises such as China Fortune Land Development, Sunac China, Evergrande Group, Sunlight Real Estate Group, Blue Focus Group, and many more. On the evening of December 18, 2021, the Zhongzhi Enterprise Group suddenly announced that Xi Jinping, the actual controller of the Zhongzhi Group, had passed away suddenly at 9:40 a.m. at the age of 60. During that period, several figures in China's financial sector also passed away, leading to speculations rising and more attention from the public. Of course, these are all rumors and gossip that took place before the financial bubble burst. Outside the Great Firewall, ordinary people are watching with a sense of detachment as the little pinkies, supporters of the CCP, are once again taken advantage of by the government. Meanwhile, governments of different countries and foreign investors are cautiously evaluating and preparing for the financial storm in China, so as not to be affected by the potential financial tsunami that could occur at any moment. From my perspective, the bankruptcies and restructuring of Chinese companies are part of Xi Jinping's attempt to exert greater control. We shouldn't apply the concepts of democratic countries or free market rules to Xi Jinping's political ideology. And this actually aligns closely with Putin's approach in Russia. His primary focus is the stability of his regime. Eliminating the non-compliant financial giants in China may not necessarily be a bad thing for him. Furthermore, we can already see in the news that the State Council of the PRC has established a special task force. On the surface, its purpose is to resolve the current financial crisis. However, in reality, this is about exerting even more control over the financial sector in China. We can observe that there are still many countries in the world, like North Korea or Cuba, where, despite the economy is almost non-existent, the people are still under the control of the authorities. There are no mass protests, people are not trying to overthrow the government. The only option left is for them to find ways to escape from these countries, right? This is also why the recent discussions in China about closing off have become so frequent. It is all because everyone knows that the country is moving towards isolationism. For example, there was a wave of attempts within the PRC to convince and brainwash the Chinese public about the benefits of isolationism. Chinese scholars like Zhao Yifeng argued that Ming and Qing dynasties had a policy of limited openness rather than being entirely closed off. They also believed that this kind of isolationism slowed down the expansion of the West. Assessing historical events requires considering the context of that time, and we shouldn't impose our standards on past generations. Despite these outlandish conclusions, Xi Jinping is actually implementing his own vision of the world. Even without a Western-style free market economy, he is finding ways to engage in various forms of resource trading. This includes alliances with North Korea, Russia, Iran, and also efforts to attract some Middle Eastern countries using the Chinese yuan as a currency of choice. On the other hand, it's not only the democracies that are decoupling from China, but also Xi Jinping decoupling from the democratic world. At the same time, he is selectively seeking openings within the West. For example, as I mentioned earlier in this video, Xi Jinping has expanded the definition of the anti-spy law, right? He believes that even under these stringent screening measures, some foreign businesses will still choose to remain in China, allowing the CCP to continue to feed on the global economy. At the same time, he never stopped preparing to invade Taiwan. From repeatedly emphasizing the importance of preparedness and self-sufficiency, especially in terms of food production, to replacing key figures like Foreign Minister Qin Gang or General Liu Yuchao of the rocket force that happened after the Wagner Group's failed coup d'etat in Russia. Additionally, I think it's worth noting that China seems to be using a portion of its foreign exchange reserves as a bargaining chip. Assuming that the announced increase in international trade and current account surpluses isn't data manipulation, these reserves could be utilized for currency intervention in the Chinese yuan's exchange rate or possibly for wartime purposes. Making a long story short, my main message is that we shouldn't harbor any illusions about China. Investing, doing business, or working there won't bring you anything good because it's essentially a big scam ring that looks like a country. And you're their main target, actually. Many people are naive, thinking they're just doing business or engaging in pure exchanges that won't affect them in any way. Some may even believe that they can change the country's system or Xi Jinping's behavior. There is an optimistic notion that a financial crisis impacting China will lead to Xi Jinping's downfall and the democratization of China. However, this is merely the beginning of a new era. The most important thing is to avoid becoming victims of the CCP's schemes. Therefore, don't engage, don't invest, and be aware of their intentions, actions, and future plans. This is what everyone should be concerned about these days. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please press like, subscribe, and share. This is Stan. I see you in the next one. Bye-bye.